If you'd like to get this and or any other Safari Ltd product, make sure to head over to www.safariltd.com and use the promo code KikiandCoffee at checkout, or use the link provided in the description to not only save 15% off of your next order, but you will also be financially supporting myself and the channel. So without further ado, what is up guys, it is KikiZilla101 here yet again, back for another one-take review. Today we're going to be reviewing the brand new Safari Ltd 2020 Qianzhousaurus. Now this figure was sent over kindly by Safari Ltd themselves to be reviewed for the hashtag HowiSafari campaign, so I have to send over a huge thank you for them sending out this figure to be reviewed on the channel. Now, let's get into this review. Now, this figure is beautiful, and I have quite a bit to say about it, way more than I thought I would originally. But before we do, I just want to give you guys a little bit of a tip on how to pronounce its name, because I know that a lot of people have been struggling to pronounce Qianzhousaurus correctly. And I know there's not a lot of helpful resources out there, so I actually dove into it myself and I actually looked up the pronunciation for certain letters in Chinese and certain dialects and so forth. And what I discovered is basically you're supposed to pronounce it Qianzhousaurus. Now the key is you pronounce the Q like a CH or a ch, and then the really challenging one is the Z. Because it actually has a unique sound that isn't in the English language, which is more like a t, t. It's almost like a TSH, so a t, t. So it's a Qianzhousaurus. Qianzhousaurus. T, t, tau, tau, tau. If you can get that sound, that tau sound down, then you basically have it. So it's Qianzhousaurus. That's how you pronounce Qianzhousaurus' name. So hopefully you guys find that useful, because I know a lot of people have been struggling to say its name correctly. So there you go. It also has the nickname of Pinocchio-Rex. I think a lot of people already knew that. Now this figure, I did not think I was going to like it this much. I was interested in it because I knew that there was some great things to be had with the overall sculpt and posing of this guy. However, getting it in hand, I was utterly stunned. And I think this figure is the pinnacle example of judging a figure too harshly, and how easy it can be to discard a figure just by having one or so issues with it and not having it in person. For instance, I thought this figure looked pretty decent. I wasn't super crazy about the colors in the promo pictures or in the in-hand stuff that I was seeing, but the biggest thing that was bothering me was the fact that it was like missing teeth. And the teeth just were like a grandma jaw, like just gumming you to death. Now that was the biggest thing that was making me wonder if I even wanted it in the first place. However, I get it in person, and I adore this thing. I think it's utterly beautiful, and it just shows how little this tooth thing matters in person, and it perfectly illustrates to me that if there's a couple figures out there that you're interested in, or like for instance that I was interested in, that just have a couple little things that are setting you off about it, I would really recommend just taking the leap and checking them out in hand, because, or at very least watching reviews like this, because it really is surprising how little those things can matter in person, and this figure is just incredible. I'm so happy that I got it. I'm so happy that Safari Ltd sent it out to me, because I adore this. It is such a beautiful figure. I'm really happy I ended up getting it. In terms of accuracy, I'll just quickly touch base on this because it is almost perfect. It is really, really well done. Now, I will acknowledge that the tail is a little bit too short. It actually should be just a little bit longer and probably a little bit thinner at the tip, but it's so minor that I'm not even going to really hold it against it to much of an extent at all. So that's a minor thing. The other minor thing that I've noticed is the nasal ridge here. As you can see when you put it to the side here, the nasal ridge actually does lift up and has a slight raise to it. On Qianzhousaurus' head, this actually is the highest point right here, and then the rest of it is basically a flat, straight line, like perfectly going down to the snout. So there's actually shouldn't be really a raised nasal ridge here. However, it could be a speculative extra keratinous covering. I'm sorry, I had to cut that because my siblings were starting to get really loud. Anyways, it's a very minor issue. The nasal ridge is very well done as a whole, and you could just say it's some extra keratinous covering, so there's really not much of an issue to that at all. Just did want to note it, just in case any of you guys were interested. Another point I wanted to talk about was actually the sturdiness of this guy, because I was really shocked because the feet are actually paleontologically accurate. Like, they're not oversized, but this guy stands, like, perfectly. You can even see the wobble there. Very sturdy figure. It's not the most sturdy figure. You can still knock it over, and I'm gonna try not to because I don't want to scratch it up. But as you can see, I'm gonna wobble it a bit there. I can be a little brave with it and wobble it, and you can see it is still sturdy. I'll get a little bit. Okay, there we go. Got a little too brave there, but no scratches, so that's good. Because some safari figures can have a little bit of some thin paint that scratches really easily. This guy doesn't seem to be that case, so really good on that. Anyways, you get the point. It's fairly sturdy. Not the most sturdy thing, but it is very sturdy for a biped, and it stands very solidly. As for the detail, there's some very tiny scales to be had here. I really like the scalation on this guy. Very nice little fine details. But as you can see, to a perfect degree here, I often bring up how a lot of these smaller scales, especially the smaller scales, but a lot of the bigger ones too on safari sculpts, do get smudged occasionally. And I think this is a part of the molding process that smudge out the detail on the sculpts, but you can really actually see it quite well on camera here. There's a lot of really smoothed over areas where the detail just kind of disappears, like right there, even in the little crevices here on the cheeks, but that might be intentional. And then on the legs, you can see there's a lot of really smooth over parts. Like this part in particular is very smoothed over on the tail. As you can see there, the detail's just kind of disappearing, but on the other side, it's so crisp and popping. You can see that really well, and then on this side, very smooth, really crisp, really smooth. So yeah, there's definitely a lot of that smoothing over, which I really would hope this safari is able to somehow conquer. Coming up soon, you can see the detail disappearing there again. It's not a super big issue, but it is something I'd like to be able to see get improved upon, because it just looks so good and crisp when you actually have the really well-preserved scales and parts of this. And I think that these scales are possibly even smaller than some of the ones that we've seen before on safari sculpts. So just really, really nicely sculpted scales as a whole there. The feet and the arms are possibly some of my favorite parts of this figure. I really like the well-sculpted feet. I think that they have that really nice cassowary / ostrich-type foot with that little wrinkle over the top, with the really well-developed feet, and the pads and stuff look really good, but they don't look too exaggerated like a lot of other safari theropod feet, like on the Carnotaurus or the T-Rex. Just look really nice, and they're very sturdy. The toes are splayed really well to make it balanced. And then the arms are just really nice looking. I really love the claws. They're not super sharp, so they're not going to really hurt too bad, but they look really great, and they look sharp. So it's just, I think this is a perfect compromise. I think a lot of the times safari's teeth kind of get dulled down. Some of the claws get dulled down for child safety, and I probably shouldn't have said that word so that Kappa doesn't get mad at me, but then again, I'm marking this video as for kids anyways, so I guess it doesn't really matter. But then again, these claws are just really, really well done. I'm just really loving these arms. The arms musculature and everything look great. I just adore those arms. The claws just look amazing on them. And this hand is actually, I think it's supronating or subpronating. I forget the term. I'm gonna have to look that up again. But it's the term for when, instead of pronating, so like putting their hand towards their body or flipping the wrist towards their body, it's the reverse. It's flipping it out. So their palm is facing away from them. Now we know that dromaeosaurs and a lot of coelurosaurs actually could do that. They could supronate or subpronate. I think it's supronate. Or yeah, I think that's what it is. I'm gonna have to double check on it. My bad. But that is really cool because they could do that. They couldn't pronate their hands, but they could supronate their hands. And they obviously had them just horizontal to each other like that. So I really like that detail with the arms there. That's really nice. The colors on this are really a lot better than I thought they'd be. In particular, one thing I don't think that's coming across well on camera is just how faded the stripes are in person, which I really like because I'm not a really big fan of the color of the stripes, and I think they're a little bold on some of the pictures and stuff I've seen of them. But in person, they're way more faded than they are here on camera. They're popping way more on camera than they do in person. You're just gonna have to take my word on that. Maybe it'll come across well in the thumbnail or something, but other than that, I don't really know how I could properly display that. The green, this like mossy green, is all over the top and like the legs of the body, and then it has this really nice fiery orange mixed in there. I like the orange. I like the green. I think the green's alright. I think they do clash a little bit too much for my taste, but I do think they look and work pretty well. I think it's mostly just the color of the stripes that I'm just not too big of a fan of in combination with that. However, the colors overall are really well done. I have to say that they're much better in person than I thought they would be. The paint on the inside of the mouth is just kind of dabbed in there because the sculpted teeth are just so tiny. You can feel them in there, but they're just like mostly just dots here on the bottom. The top is pretty well done. It's actually not too much bleeding in there, which I'm pretty happy with because Safari's been having some trouble with that more recently. The top teeth are a little bit more visible and well sculpted than the bottom ones, but definitely not too poorly painted at all. Now, my favorite part of the paint on this entire thing is its eye. It's got this beautiful turquoise cyan eye. It's just beautiful. I totally thought it was light blue because in most cameras, it comes across as blue. There's like a light sky blue or something, but it's totally a turquoise. And I don't know if it's coming across super well on camera. I tried changing the settings a little bit to make it so that you actually get a more accurate depiction of the colors on the figure. And this seemed to be the best settings on my camera, but hopefully that's coming across because it's got this beautiful cyan eyes, which I thought were actually going to stand out way more in person. I thought they were going to really pop out really cartoonily on the figure. In some pictures it looked like they would, but it doesn't in person. It actually matches with the green a lot better because it's so turquoise, and it just looks beautiful. I love that color. I'm a huge fan of turquoise colors and aqua colors and cyan colors. I just love those colors so much, the blue-greens. And I think this is just a beautiful version of that, and one of my favorite eyes from Safari just in terms of color choice. So I think that's really, really great. The stripes do look a lot better, like I said, but I do want to mention that they do kind of like double up here, and I don't know if that's a quality control issue or if that's on everybody's, but there are these like doubled up stripes for these 4 sections right here at the base of the tail, which, to be honest, I don't know if it's intentional, but I kind of like better than the just single stripes. So I kind of wish that was on the entire thing, like those doubled up stripes were. But just in general, I kind of think I wish they did just a consistent either one stripe or doubled up stripes. I think I would have preferred the double up stripes. But just in general, the figure looks really good and way better in person than I thought it would be. So I'm just really impressed with this one. I'm going to end up giving this one a solid 9 out of 10. And I did realize I just forgot to bring my size comparison, so one second. Here you go, is our control size comparison with the Safari LTD Qianzhousaurus from 2015. The figure is a little bit bigger than I'd hope it'd be. It's not 1/40th scale, it's definitely like 1/35th scale, because Qianzhousaurus was like just under 20 feet. It was basically Aliramus size, which is also one of the reasons why it's considered to possibly be a dubious genus and is maybe synonymous with Aliramus, and it's just a different species. But nonetheless, it's, I want to say, about like 8 inches long. So you're getting a decent sized figure, but in general, I think it came out really great. It's a very beautiful sculpt. I really recommend you guys picking this one up. If you guys are skeptical about it because of the mouth thing like me, I really think you're going to like it way more in person. I'm just shocked at how much I like this. This is honestly one of my favorites from the 2020 line now. And it wasn't before. It was definitely a middle-of-the-road one for me, but I definitely really like it now. So yeah, solid 9 out of 10 figure for me. And I want to send one more big thank you over to Safari for sending this one out to be reviewed on the channel. And remember, if you guys want to get this figure or any other Safari LTD product, you can get them on www.amazon.com/Safari or on www.safariltd.com, where you can use the promo code Kiki and Coffee, one word, no caps. It's in the description. There's also a link for you there, and you'll get 15% off of your next purchase, as well as you will be financially supporting myself and the channel by making those purchases. So you not only save money, but you're also supporting me, so you can do that. So yeah, just in general, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Bye-bye.